Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for tuning back in to Listening Pleasure. I'm your host, Rob G, and thank you for tuning in to the episode Bridging the Gap. This is the conversation where Badge meets community. So tonight we're sitting down with some authors ready for some real talk about rebuilding trust, improving relationships, and answering your questions. This is not just a discussion. It's your chance to be heard. Yes, we are live, so you can drop your questions in the comments now or throughout the show. Let's get honest. Let's get to some solutions. And most importantly, let's start closing this gap. Once again, officers, I thank all of you for coming on, for having this crucial conversation with us tonight. And viewers, stay tuned, stick around, be engaged, and let's make a change happen. I'm so excited. Like, I don't know what to tell you right now. I'm just excited. I feel a little nervous. I don't know why, but I'm excited. I think this is a good show. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce some of the officers one by one and let them introduce themselves. So first up, in no order, we have coming to the stage, Mr. Ford. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? I'm Officer Ford. I'm with the Newport News Police Department. My current assignment is Community Youth and Outreach Division. I'm a middle school SRO, so I'm a school resource officer at Booker T. Washington Middle School.
All right. Next up, we have coming to the stage, we have Mr. Brett.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Brett, and I'm currently an officer with just Lake Walter Police Department, and I'm also a retired sergeant with North Carolina State Highway Patrol. I'm double dipping, and I just appreciate you having me here today.
Thank you for coming on. Next up, we have this brother I know since I was a little bitty boy. Y'all, welcome to the stage, Mr. Sean Lynch. Your mic was muted. You got to unmute your mic if you're talking, Sean.
All right. Good evening to everyone. My name is Sean Lynch. Used to work for Newport News Police 24 years. Now I'm over at the Chesapeake Bay Bridgetown Police Department, and just glad to be here tonight. Look forward to the interaction.
Appreciate you coming on. Next up, we have a very important man. I'm glad he took the time out of his busy schedule to come on tonight. Y'all welcome Chief Drew. To the stage.
Well, hey, Rob, thanks for having me tonight. I'm ready for Sean to come back. So, Sean, we'll hold it for you, my friend. But so my name is Steve Drew. I'm the chief here in Newport News. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I did 25 years in the Richmond, Virginia Police Department. I left there as an assistant chief. And by the grace of God, I've been here as the chief in Newport News for 7 years, and very, very thankful to have the opportunity to spend some time with you all this evening. And Rob, I appreciate the invite and the opportunity, my friend.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you more. Last but not least, certainly, I have, as I always say, no offense to nobody, this is my favorite officer ever. It's my cousin from the like cousin brother right here. Y'all welcome to the stage, Captain Will. You on?
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, Rob, to be on the show. The panel, I'm excited. We have a very good panel. So yes, I work for the Virginia Beach Police Department. I'm the commanding officer of the 4th Precinct over in Kempsville, and I've been with Virginia Beach now for a little bit over.
Will, you got a little interference. You faded out.
About to make this thing better for everybody.
All righty. I thank you guys for tuning on. Once again, for all the viewers, as you know, we always say every show, please like, subscribe, follow our channel. And while we on
can y'all
for this,
hear me?
Yeah, you back now. While you're on for this episode, please share on your page with your friends. This is very important. Everybody got to say so or should be tuned in for this one. All righty. Once again, thank you guys. So trying to debate how I don't know if I want to dive right into conversation, but we got some comments already. But most importantly, I'm gonna come off with a topic, a question. Let me go with a question first. Everybody already said how long they've been policing. I don't want to get too personal, too strict, too fast, guys. All right, let me ask you this. So, what's some community activities you've been involved in the last couple of months? You could go one at a time, or however you choose to answer. I start with Let's go ahead and introduce you. Let's go with Ford first.
Uh, in the last few months. So, like I said, I'm a part of the Community Youth and Outreach Division. We just had a 3-day pickleball camp that's hosted by the Newport News Police Department. That was hosted at the YMCA. So we interacted with middle school age kids Monday, Tuesday, and today, which is Wednesday, just playing pickleball and learning and teaching them the game of pickleball. I'm also the head football coach at Booker T. Washington Middle School, which is the school I'm assigned to. So when I'm not in my uniform, I'm coaching football as well. And pretty much all I really do is coach football. I've coached at Tri-City for the last 3 or 4 years, and before that, I coached a team back home in Philly before I moved to Virginia.
Okay. Next up, we had the same question to you, Brett.
Yes, sir. Now that I'm with the Lake Walkmall Police Department, is a very small department, very small town. This is something new to me, coming from the state agency, which is super large now. To guys, this is as Mayberry as you can get, man. I'm learning through this thing here. But my community involvement is not really through my department. I try to take part in things through my church, do different things. I've helped with the youth in the past, and just being my wife worked at our local school here, and I tried to take part in things. I helped coach teams like Anton did and stuff like that. I always enjoyed doing that and reaching out to that younger generation through those type of activities.
All righty. Next up, we have you, Brother Sean.
Okay, thanks again. Well, I used to coach basketball at the middle school. Missed that. Really had an impact with that. Now we're doing some things directly through the church, directly working with my young men in the East End community. So I find it to be rather impactful and enjoyable. So just being able to effect change.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Steve Drew.
We'll see. I'll tell you, Rob, I think when you talk about community events and outreach and stuff that we do in the community, in Newport News, it is a fabric of what we do. And I'm sure we'll talk about that as we go. So I was just reflecting in my head, like, my gosh, I don't know where to start. So like Ford said, before I came on tonight, we had our homicide support group. So families who've lost loved ones to violence, and not just here in Newport News, from around the region. One travels all the way from Virginia Beach. We meet monthly and we just kind of have a conversation, right? Officers and families who've lost loved ones. There was a similar event last night at a church that we attended. On Monday, we were at an event for Victims Week, just listening to stories, whether it was domestic violence or abuse, bullying. I think those things are important. We have a young adult police commissioner program. You'll probably hear Ford talk about that. That's a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior from every high school. So with the 6 high schools that we have in Newport News, that's 24 kids. Somehow we got like 45. So I don't know where they all came from, but we got them. And we spend from 3 to 6 o'clock every Wednesday. We meet with them and we talk about things like diversity. We talk about debates, talk about things that are going on in the nation, things that are going on here in Newport News. We take them to city council. They talk to the mayor and his staff. And these aren't kids that are 4.0. These are kids that are referred by word of mouth, by other students that have gone through, by school resource officers, guidance counselors, and principals. Last weekend, I think we had 5 different events, whether it's early Easter egg hunts or activities, 3-on-3 basketball tournament. So I just hit a couple, but I think, and I hope we talk about it at some point. I think in today's policing, that's got to be a fabric of what we do. Some of the hot topics I'm sure we're going to hit on. The more we know about each other, the more conversations we have, that we're not meeting the first time when something critical happens, I think sets the tone for a lot of things. So those are just a couple of things, I guess, I'm just going back the last week of what we're doing here and try to be a part of.
No doubt. Next up, we have Brother Will.
Hey, I'm sorry about my audio. Can y'all hear me now? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. You good?
Okay. So yeah, just in case you missed it, I'm with Virginia Beach. I'm the commanding officer of the 4th Precinct out in Kempsville. Been with Virginia Beach Police Department for a little bit over 22 years. So talking about community engagement, we actually have what you would consider a community engagement unit. So youth services unit. So they cater to anything dealing with, under 18. So it starts off with, excuse me, I don't want to take too much time, but just a couple of the events that are kind of popular and very trending right now. We have an event during the spring and summer called Parks After Dark. So this is an opportunity for the kids within the city of Virginia Beach to come out to one of the rec centers, and they're engaged with our police officers. They're playing chess. They're doing board games. They're outside playing basketball, baseball, whatever, right? It's just an opportunity for those who are under the age of 18 to interface with our officers. And like Chief Drew was hinting at earlier, it's got to be a foundation for us to have that relationship with community engagement, because if the only time people see us is when there's trouble, then that's how we get a negative perception. It's not necessarily that people view cops as doing something wrong all the time. It's because the stigma is every time I see them, they're arresting somebody. So we have to be proactive. We have to get out there and do things that are engaging and humanize the badge, as we say, so that they can look at us and see us as, not Captain Gervin, but William. They see me out there playing with them or talking to them at their school for a touch a truck event. We have the event tomorrow at 2 of our elementary schools. We bring the cars, we turn the lights on, the fire department's there, the military's there with the big armored trucks. Just an opportunity for them to get a ride in the car, the truck, and they talk with us. We do career fairs. We do, just a lot of events, where we are purposefully engaging, on the behalf of the community.
All righty. Great stuff from all you. We have another officer on the platform. I'm gonna bring him to the stage. I think he's ready now. So y'all, welcome to the stage, Mr. Nix. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley.
Appreciate you for coming on. You want to answer that question? I know you could hear when you was in the. You want to answer that question, or you want to go ahead and keep going on with the show? It was what things I forgot the question that quick. What you done lately for the in the community, being active in the community? I believe that was the question.
Yeah, so I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I work in investigations, narcotics, violent crimes, anything else that really lands on my desk. One of the things we're doing in the community is we have blessing boxes that throughout our city and the community, where we fill it with food for people who are not fortunate enough to be able to purchase food, especially in today's time. So we put those blessing boxes in the community. And then one of the other things that we've done really big recently is, to the captain was saying, is, being in the community, because a lot of times when they see law enforcement, it's when someone's called us, right? So we have so much going on, so many calls to answer, especially with the short staff in today's world, that we don't just stop and get out and talk to the kids. So one of the things that we've done in the jurisdiction I'm in is we have cleanup days where we actually help the community clean up the streets, especially after the hurricane in the upstate South Carolina. We spend a lot of time cleaning up the streets. We're in plain clothes. We're out there with the people in the community, helping them pick up their yards, get their grass cut. So just really giving our time free. We're not getting paid for it, right? But it shows that we're committed to the communities, that we're there, that we're approachable, and that we're all in this together, right? So we have a lot of storm damage still from the hurricane, and that's huge because, insurance companies ain't having it cleaned up. And our officers and our command staff, we're all out there in the neighborhoods helping the community get their yards clean, because we're still lingering tons of brush and shrubbery. And then we have a lot of events throughout the year that we base those events in the community and not at a park that's close to the police department. We actually go out in the community and host the events. So that's kind of what we've done lately.
All righty. It's good stuff. Like I said before you said it. Of course, I have my own questions, but this show is part about bridging the gap with the community and the office. So we do have a question I'm gonna bring on. Yeah, simple, quick question. This from my dad. I should have known he was gonna come first. He said, have the police thought about introducing or starting different scout units in the community, aka Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts? We do need more Boy Scouts and units back in the city, from my opinion. Anybody?
Well, I don't know about if we necessarily start those type of things. Those organizations, those particular ones already exist. And as a matter of fact, the chief of my department is heavily involved. I believe I've not been in that, but I believe they call it I don't know what his title is, but he's the head scout master or whatever for the local troop. And he just literally took a group of kids out about 2 weeks ago. That warm weather already had some rattlesnakes out, so they had some adventures already. And he's huge, and I think it came from a generational thing. He was influenced at that. I believe he's an Eagle Scout, and now he's trying to carry that on out into the community as well. And he's a pretty good old fella. I like him. I'm not just saying that because he's my boss, but he's a pretty good old fella. And doing that for those young people, I think I think it absolutely helps our community.
Yeah, Rob, I would only add here in our city, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts are pretty active. So we've had the Girl Scouts come like, can we sell Girl Scout cookies in the police lobby? So we'll go down and interact with them. The Boy Scouts, we have a lot of individuals on the department that take part, that their kids are in those programs. So they will ask a lot of officers to come and so kind of like the former sergeant was saying, interact with them, go to some of the events they have, speak to them, have open dialogue, much like we're having here, questions. But I will tell you, when you get to that Eagle Scout right at that top level, they have these they have like these assignments or achievements that they have to do, and we will often get them to come and ask, is there something we can do for the city or something with the police department? So they have come and done some beautification, and we've helped them with supplies. They've built facilities and things for the K-9 division for an obstacle course. They've done some things with the gym equipment. So both of those are great entities, and partnering with them, since they already exist, things that they do in the community, we're more than glad to work with them and show up for them, because they certainly show up for us.
That's great. I knew that question was coming. Speaking on that, I knew my dad would say that, because growing up, he was, I don't know what his title was, but he was one of the head guys in the scout.
Yeah, like a scoutmaster.
Yeah, he used to grab all the kids from all the neighborhoods, and we would ride around, pick up all the kids. So I remember that as a young kid. Okay, we have another question before we get. Good question. And I don't know the answer, and these guys would know. He said, is there still a Scared Straight program in your city or your area?
I can jump on that one and just speak shortly on that. I think overall, so to answer the question directly, I think it would be a no. Scared Straight was a popular theme back in the late 80s, early 90s, depending on what region of the country you're from. And it was based in kind of this deterrence theory. Deterrence theory is one of the criminal justice or corrections theory that said basically, hey, if you scare people or if you present the risk and reward or the consequences, crime will go down. Through data and through research, we now know that I won't say that that's not true, but it's not 100% reliable. So there was more damage being done, possibly, or it wasn't an effective program. So it's really not a thing anymore. And that's just based on research that has come up that showed, the end result or the goal that we were trying to meet, which was keep kids out of the juvenile justice system or the correction system, it didn't have an effect.
Yeah, Rob, I would say for us, it's the same. I think the captain nailed it. We try to do the same thing about awareness, but we try to reverse it now. So individuals who may have gone away and have come back, right, did their time, have paid their debt to society and come back out, will partner with police departments or different communities, and they will share their story. So we may come and be in the audience and listen to show support or to invite them to an event we have, but we try to use people who've had some experiences. And the ones that do the best are the ones that have that drive that they want to give back to their community. So whether it's those type things or interacting with youth at an early age, I think we try to get that same. This is not make good choices, but like the captain was saying, a different way of doing that.
Okay. I didn't know if anybody else want to say something. So I have a question we put up, and this was from one of the officers. What are the biggest misunderstandings between law enforcement and the public, and how can we correct them? You want to go first, Brett? I see you move up.
Sure, I can handle that. I think one of the biggest misunderstandings, and it is on both sides of the aisle with this one, is when we make assumptions about groups of people or communities in general. When you say, this officer did something, so all officers are bad, or hey, this community is a high drug, high crime area, so everybody that's in there, is a criminal. And when you jump to those types of conclusions, man, it absolutely deteriorates the connection between us and our community. And it does nobody any justice, because number one, it's a lie. It's a lie straight from the devil. And no, you can't lump everybody into any type of group like that. We have a we have a high drug, high crime area in our county. In my 27 years of law enforcement, I've worked a lot in that area. But everybody that lives there, it's just not there. I mean, they're not. And I know that there are good people that live in that community. So when you go into that area, when we serve a search warrant, when we make an arrest, you have to treat each individual person as just that. You have to treat them as an individual person. You start at a baseline as, hey, man, this is a human being. This is a person. Now, how that interaction goes from there, that's up to the other individual on that. And also from the public's point of view, look, man, we're human beings. All right, we've got wives, we got kids. They aggravate the crap out of us sometimes, and we have bad days. And so when I go to work, it's like, God dang, man, it's more money, and I got something else going on. And so sometimes, man, I do my very best, but sometimes, like I said, we have bad days too. And then if I stop you and the first thing you say is, "What'd you stop me for?" Man, it just, I'm not out here just hunting. I'm not. Okay, I had a valid reason, and I understand, man. People, we've seen some bad things, man. I'm third generation law enforcement. Okay, my daddy was a highway patrolman. My granddaddy was a deputy. So I've always seen it for the most part in a positive light. But I understand that same experience is not for everybody. All right, but just like public, you don't want me to hold you responsible for what someone else did. Don't hold me responsible for that bad interaction that you had as well. I'm a daddy, and and a granddaddy now. I'm just a guy. I just happen to do this for a career. I love it. I enjoy being and dealing with people. And just because we have an interaction doesn't mean I don't like you. It's nothing. I never went to work, not one day in the last 27 years, and said, I'm going to go get somebody, so and so. I just never did that. And so we just start off those types of misconceptions that, hey, you just lump everybody into one thing. That really, I think that's just a negative anything that just deteriorates the community together. And so just say, treat each individual officer as that, give them some benefit of the doubt. And as officers, hey man, give each violator or person, whoever that may be, give them the same benefit of the doubt, man. And they can have bad days as well, you know? That would be all I got to say about that.
Mr. Gurley, I'd like to add transparency. One of the big things when we're in the communities and we're doing special enforcement is don't blow smoke in the community. Just be transparent. You know, we're getting a lot of Crime Stopper calls for narcotics violations in this neighborhood, and you know we're going to enforce it because you guys are calling. We're here to help you guys, but just be transparent. Don't just say, oh well, you know we're assigned to this beat. I believe in being transparent with the community, because if you're transparent with them, they're going to be transparent with you, and they're going to trust you. If you try, they can, you know, if you go in the community, I can go in our worst neighborhoods in my jurisdiction, and everybody speaks to me, comes out to my car, tells me who broke in whose house. But it's because I'm transparent with them. I let them know, hey, you know, you guys got some people out here that's hustling, and you know, we're getting a lot of calls, and you're going to see a lot of us till it goes away, right? So, you know, where I'm from, a lot of people police themselves, right? If you know the people in the neighborhood don't want the heat in the neighborhood, so they kind of police it themselves. So when we're transparent with them and let them know why we're there, they're transparent with us, and you can see a decrease in the activity. So that's what I would add is just I feel like a lot of officers feel like they have to come up with some really good cover story of why they're in the neighborhood, and all it is just be real, right? People want us to be real, so just be transparent.
Also, yeah.
You on, Sean? What?
Yeah, I would say look at it from a respect standpoint. I think respect goes a long ways from both sides. You always want to treat people from a respect standpoint. You know, I have a son and a daughter, and I often tell them, you know, treat people the way you want to be treated. So in these interactions that we have with the community, we ought to treat people the way that we want to be treated. You know, sometimes there's always that one person that's just, you know, no matter what you do, they're just not going to comply. They're not going to listen. Okay. But there's always the others that will simply listen. I think a lot of times if you just take additional moments to have that conversation, to de-escalate a situation as opposed to always, you know, doing the opposite, you know, I think the interactions could be a whole lot different. But for me, it's just really a respect thing. Give the people the same respect that you want them to have. So my philosophy is I treat people the way I would want somebody to treat my own children.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Brett and Jonathan and Sean hit on, you know, the combination of the three of them have kind of touched it. And the foundation of it all, I think, is just all of those are branches from the tree of humanity. If you start with the thought that you're talking to a person, that every interaction, whether it's a vehicle stop, whether it's, you're on foot patrol, you're riding a bike, you know, whatever. But at the crux of that interaction, you're talking to a human being. And, you know, throwing out legal authority and what type of stop it is and what's your reasonable suspicion or probable cause, throwing all of that out the window. At the heart of it, at the basic level, you're talking to a human being. And if you keep that in mind when you're having these conversations and you lead with a little bit of empathy and a little bit of understanding, I think their interactions usually go pretty well. And even in the law enforcement officers' shoes, I tell my leaders at the precinct all the time, my lieutenants, my sergeants, even if you have the right to do something, even if you are within your legal authority, you are within your legal bounds, sometimes it's good to take that extra minute and explain. Because if you explain and you educate people, then you give them the backstory. Once you explain the why, then it kind of takes a lot of that aggression out. You know, if you throw somebody in handcuffs and you're pushing them into the car and somebody comes out of the house and they're like, hey, what's going on? They're yelling and screaming. Why are you doing that to him? And you tell that person, shut up. Because in your mind, you're like, I'm in my legal authority. I can do this. But now what about that person that just witnessed this incident? They're creating their own narrative in their head of what happened. And now you just told them to shut up. So imagine how they feel and imagine their perception of you as an officer after that interaction. So I always push that to my officers. I say, take the time out after the scene is safe, after the person is in cover, whatever you're doing, you in that interaction, go explain to the person, this is what happened, right? Within the legal boundaries and making sure that you don't release confidential information. But just having that basic conversation and treating people as humans, it goes far. And a lot of times that's all people need is just to understand the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? You know, and I found that in my career when I did take that opportunity, those encounters went a lot smoother. There was less use of force. There was less complaints. You know, just people want to know why you're doing what you're doing. And then you establish that trust because you took the time to explain yourself. So now there's not this dark cloud or shadow of why did the officer do that? And now he wanted to tell me why he did that. So now you explain yourself and it takes everything. And as I believe it was Jonathan that said it earlier, you're being transparent. You're explaining what you're doing. So there's no hiding.
Yeah, and I want to add too with that is and narrate. You know, one of the things that's helped me in the past is when I'm trying to get someone in a car and they're resisting and they're saying you're doing this, you're doing that, narrate it. Say, nobody's hurting you, nobody's pulling your arm. All we're asking you to do is to have a seat in the car. We'll definitely let you talk, but just have a seat in the car. Like if you'll narrate that, the people in the community will often tell them to sit in the car. Nobody's doing anything to them. But if you'll, like I said, that's always helped me is kind of narrating where the people that are on looking, not that shut up, like you said, because more likely when you said shut up, they got you on a camera. And before you get done putting them in the car, you're Facebook famous or YouTube famous or whatever platform we're using now. But like I always narrate it. Nobody's pulling your arm. All we're asking you to do is get in the car. You're hitting your head on the door. Like I always narrate it. So that helps a lot too. That goes back to the transparency piece.
Yeah, I would add listen. I heard this the other day. Listen to understand, not just listening to respond. Trying to understand where the other person's coming from, or you never know what someone's going through. But I think all of us have said the same thing in different ways, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. Put yourself in that person's position or shoes. What it would be like if your son or daughter was pulled over, if your wife or husband was pulled over, if they had to respond to a situation. Sometimes you have to respond to things that aren't going the best in the community or people don't understand and they're hyped up and try to bring that down. I don't know if Ford's going to chime in, but when we put him in a middle school to deal with young people, right? I think we can learn a lot from those interactions. I know that I learn a lot listening to the younger officers and how they talk to young people. I think it's a lot. My generation, we were talking to people today. It's it's back. They're sitting across having lunch or dinner, and you're texting someone. So learning to understand how to reach youth. I think that we really got to tap into those young officers that we have in the department that help us bridge some of those gaps that might be challenging for me and others that have been doing this for a long time or a while longer, I guess.
And Rob, if I could add just one more thing, I think that one of the keys to that is, we've got to be able to be seen by the community at other times other than just when the bad stuff's happening.
That's right.
And we're talking, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, being a part of the community, man, and they've got to see you as something other than just the guy who comes when something bad is happening and takes some type, because when we get to that, if it is a bad situation, we may have to take some type of very decisive action, but that shouldn't be the only time they see us like that. As we've gotten older, as I've gotten older, my kids were going to school, and I taught and I coached their teams, like you said. But I got to know the kids who were in their classes, and now they're in their late 20s and early 30s, and so I'm Mr. Baxley to them, and my wife was a teacher out there, and now and then I wasn't Trooper Baxley, I was Miss Baxley's husband. You've got to get known by more than just that uniform. You've got to be if you really want to be effective in that.
I get it. I understand. And also, I'm gonna just say this while we out here for all y'all commenting. They got all these questions for the officers. I appreciate that, but it ain't just about the officers. It's about both sides. So I'm gonna throw this question out here before I go to the officers, and I want y'all, the way y'all comment these questions, I want y'all to answer this too. So for my viewers, what's one positive interaction you had with law enforcement that changed your perspective? Because we all, like you said, we all always can speak on bad stuff that they done and bad things. So what's one positive interaction you had that changed your perspective or made you look, just get a different outlook or want to look at it different if it didn't change? That's a question for the viewers while I go to the officers. So my question for you guys would be, how important is it for an officer to live or really be involved in the community they serve?
Well, I'll take the first swing at it. I think the more interaction, I think a couple have already hit on it. The more interaction you have, the more interaction that you see someone at the grocery store, or that you attend some church that other individuals may attend, or that you're at a sporting event. Here in Newport News, we're kind of lucky. We have one Todd Stadium where we play all the football games on Friday and Saturdays. So to spend some time out at the football game where the community is, right? So they see, I don't expect the players to run off the field and say hello, but I can tell you that the fans in the stand see us there. And then, week 1, they look at you. Week 2, they start to wave to you. Week 3 and 4, they're coming down and having conversations with you. It's like others have said, you're starting to build those relationships. Or when Ford's coaching on a Saturday, to go out and just show support. I think those things are very important. I think that's why most of us here all attend community events that interact, spend time, stay late to go to a baseball game or a basketball game, cheer individuals on, spend time at our schools, reading to elementary kids, doing these camps during the summer or in spring break. I think the more you do in the community, and just like you were just saying before, that being interactive so they know you, that they see you, they recognize you. Hey, you came to my school, or I saw this, or I saw that, or hey, you work with Officer Ford. I think those things go a long way. And then building relationships with community leaders, that you're interacting with them and going places that they are, and vice versa. I think that the more relationships we have, the better that people feel comfortable talking to you, and it just opens all kinds of doors. Absolutely.
I totally agree. And I will say this, what someone else said, start. I was talking to a buddy, and I don't know. Oh, he made it on because he did a comment. And some of the issues you hit on, I spoke on just on you personally, Chief. I was just like, I see Chief everywhere. I see him in the community more than I see some people that's in the community. So whether it's all the Heritage games, the football games, all the community events, anybody holding to ask you to show up, you there. And I just personally say, thank you. Far as I know, in my life, I never seen a chief active like this in Newport News City ever. I will say that for me. Others, I know somebody else might want to respond to that question if they wanted to.
I think it's critical. I think it ties into what we were just talking about just a second ago, man. They've got to be able to see you as more than a uniform, as more than a badge, more than a guy that comes in when things are bad and does something. My generation, and I'm 54 years old, so I'm the old man out there and whatnot. But, I never had a desire to do what Mr. Ford is doing. Okay. Being an SRO was not even an option. We didn't have that when I got started way back in the 90s. However, I see it as critical nowadays, man. You're making a good SRO makes a critical impact on those young people, man. In that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade years, they get to see you as, your deputy Ford or Officer Ford or whatever. But man, but you get to know them, and you're going even farther by coaching with, and you can have a tremendous impact on those. I see just a tremendous upside for that type, for something that when I started, I saw no value in it. I was like, well, that's where they send the old guy.
I don't know if that's me or not. Okay.
That was me. My bad. I'm sorry, but I saw no value early on in that type of thing, but now I see it as a tremendous, great tool for law enforcement to help bridge that gap. What we're talking about right now, generationally, you go into there.
Yeah, I want to add it's crucial to everyone's points. You got to be in the community to understand the community, because the kids in the community are different than when we grew up. They're different than what being in law enforcement a long time. What we see as disrespect is the norm, right? So it's just the culture in some of these communities, and if you don't understand that, you're never going to be able to get on the same page with them, because you got 6 and 7 year olds listening to things that we don't want to listen to up as grown-ups sometimes, right? So our parents,
Sure.
are a lot more relaxed now. These kids see a lot. So when they do something, what someone showed them, right? So if you're in the community and you understand the people and you understand the culture, then it's not such a disrespect when you get out with some of these kids who have done something, because for what we think might be wrong might not be wrong in their community, right? So the simple stuff, right?
I agree. Once again, I don't know if that's me.
Wow.
Everybody else can still hear me?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stop taking up all your time here just a second, but I want to piggyback on that one little thing there. I think, and of course, Chief he can't hire except who applies. I mean, but I think when you are able to hire someone who lived in that community, grew up in that community, man, it makes a tremendous thing. I grew up in a little town called Chadbourne, and it's literally, when you talk about the old divided by the tracks, the wrong side, that was my town. And I lived on both sides of it at different times in my life. But I was able to, once I joined the military and came home and got into law enforcement, because I grew up there and because I played ball and I did all these things, I was in that community. I could go in there and I had some respect from those people, not because I was in law enforcement, but because they knew me and they knew I was straight up and I was going to be honest with them. I was going to deal with them man to man. And so when you're able to hire from within that community, you have a little bit of respect built into that, because the people know who you are genuinely already. They grew up with you and they know who you are, and I think that'll go a long way.
Right. And I wanted to add too, so the community understands that a lot of these officers, like myself, we're not in it for the money. This is not a great paying job. We don't make hundreds of $1,000s a year until you make it to chief. But when you're out here working the road, like, we're doing this because we love the community. We love being involved with the people. Because I can tell you right now, you could probably in South Carolina and some jurisdictions go to Chick-fil-A and make more money as a shift leader than you can make as a police officer. So we got officers out here making under $50,000 a year with families. So they're not doing this because they want to go out and harass people. They're not doing this because it's a high paying job. They're doing this because they care about the community. They want to help people. So just wanted to add that.
I would like to add, like, just being in the community and the relationship that you build with certain kids. It's a lot of kids that I coached around the city of Newport News that don't like police officers, but since I built a relationship with them and, learn how they lifestyles are, and they get closer to me and understanding them and they understanding me, like, they'll come to me and talk to me a lot about certain things that they wouldn't go to another officer and talk about. So I had like calls before where some of my partners ran into kids that I've, mentored and things like that. And they be like, hey, I got one of your kids up here. They giving me a hard time. They told me that you was their coach at either Tri-City or at Booker T, et cetera, et cetera. And they was able to, a smooth transaction and things not go too rocky because of the relationship that they had built with me. So being in the community is really really big, especially for the youth.
So I agree with what he said. I'm kind of like the sergeant. I'm from the old school, so growing up in the community, I knew the parents, the kids, because I went to school with them. So call them by name, go by the houses. A lot of times, just taking time to have conversations with people. When I came through the ranks, you had to get out the patrol car and you had to walk your district. So officers knew the people in their districts because they took time to talk to the people. What was at 7-Eleven or playing some basketball, whatever it was. We took our time. We knew the people in our own districts, so we knew the people by name, and they knew us. And we had relationships with them because we spent time with them. Like you said, not just an encounter where you have to deal with them, but allowing yourself just to being able to talk to them, one person to another. It's amazing when you develop those relationships with the people. The information that they'll give you and share with you, and the respect that they have for you. So when things happen, you can respond and you can calm a scene because of the relationships you had. There's always the other side of it. I mean, I dealt with the adversity of growing up in the community. They told me I was a sellout because of what I did, but I did it because it was in my heart. It was passionate. But I think guys need to take time, get out of their cars from old school and talk to people. A lot of the guys don't know the people in their own district because they don't take the time anymore to spend time with the people in their own community. So I think those old time standards still work.
All righty. Very interesting. Good food. All right, let's get some of these viewers in. I ask you guys. So I guess we're talking about the positive interactions. Let's see what this young man said. You don't want to show your comment, brother? Well, I just had to read it. Y'all can hear me? Y'all can hear me out there?
Yes.
Y'all can hear me? All right, cool. All right. Terrell, one of your comments stuck in one. Oh, there you go. He said, having a conversation with me. These officers have families just like us. That's true. People don't realize that, like they said plenty of times, they're doing a job just like you do your job. He said, I've met Chief Drew. Very personable. True. Chief is right on. We said that already. He said, I know Will, his family. These are relationships that are built. Very, very true. Okay, we got a long one here. So we had a community event, and one of our officers, who is a DJ, was there, and a look on a young person's face, and was like, "Oh my gosh, is he a real police officer and a real DJ?" I can imagine. It really was a moment for us as adults and the young person to see the officers as a person who enjoyed music, life, them first, and the relationships were started. That's true. Whenever they can see you outside of the uniform as a regular person, but know who you are, for the youth, that's very, very impactful. What else we got here? Oh, they just comments saying yes. Alrighty. I know I'm doing a lot of narrating, so anything, I'm leave it up to you guys right now. Anything you guys, because it's always like the whole show is great to hear from the officers themselves. Anything you have you want to touch on while we have viewers interacting and watching before, I don't want to question you to death. I want to leave it so you have something you want to speak on to talk about.
I think, we're on the subject of still talking about engagement and community interaction. I think that's important. One element that we really didn't hit on, we kind of mentioned earlier, were I think Chief Drew said it. We talked about knowing your community, being purposeful and engaging, knowing your business owners, but knowing your church and community and civic leaders as well. I know, having a background in recruiting, I was a recruiting officer, recruiting sergeant, worked in recruiting as a lieutenant. And one of the biggest foundations that helped me was connecting with the pastors in the city of Virginia Beach. You know, getting out there. Literally, we had officers going to church services on Sunday, you know, and just engaging with the congregation, with the pastor, because if you look at it, especially some of these, you know, historic churches, foundational churches, they've been in the city, they've been a part of the city for decades. You know, they've been around, they know everybody, and who more than a lot of pastors in, you know, different elements of our community are the trusted leaders, your civic leaders, your pastors, you know, your OGs, you know, the people that have really been around, and your football coaches. You know, you know, Ford was talking about being a coach. You know, some of these young men growing up now, their coaches are their fathers. Their coaches are their mentor. That was me in high school. You know, my wrestling coach, my cross country coach, my track coach, they were like my fathers. You know, I spent most of my time at school, so seeing them, you know, from 8:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, I spent the majority of my time with them. You know, I would go to them for those questions that I had in my growing years, you know, my wonder years, you know, middle school and high school. You know, some of them I would lean on, you know, hey, you know, let me talk to you about this, let me talk to you about that. And they were there. So as a police officer trying to connect and trying to get those relationships built solid, you go to the people that already have those relationships, and they vet you in a way, you know, to their community. And I'll borrow something that I heard one of my old chiefs say, and it's so true. He said, it's hard to hate up close. So a lot of these issues that we see, a lot of these, you know, confrontations, if we just, and Sean hit on it just a little bit ago, talking about old school policing, when you get out of your car and you go up to people and you talk to them face to face and you just talk, a lot of understanding is built, a lot of barriers or walls are broken down, and it's really, really hard to hate a person that you've had continual communication with over and over again, because you start to learn their story. You start to see that they have kids. You start to learn about their job. You hear their struggles with, you know, whether it's at work or their family or in their community, and they become a person to you. They become human to you. And at that point, it's really hard to treat them less than when you have a relationship with them.
Yeah. In closing, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I lost you guys for a second. You know, in closing for me, it's not just necessarily humanizing the badge, but humanizing the life, right? Humanize that we're all living beings. And, you know, we've all seen it on the law enforcement side where we go to a homicide where a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid shot, 20 people witness it and nobody saw anything, right? So, you know, we've got to do better and humanize that we're all lives, right? Everybody's quick to jump when something bad happens, but you know, nobody ever wants to support, especially in the community. I've worked homicides where 15 people's watched a 15-year-old get shot, and we can't solve a case until we get into a cell phone or get into an ex-girlfriend, because nobody's willing to talk. And I feel like to everybody's point here, getting in the community, building those relationships, building that trust, that's the only way we're going to change the behaviors of that. So to your point, I believe hate's a learned. They're not born to hate people. It's a learned. They've learned it from someone else, right? So not only from the law enforcement perspective, we got to do better. Everybody's got to do better. You got to be receptive. This is not the old, you know, and I've been around a long time, 25, 30 years, and policing today is way different. Everybody on this call has been around more than probably 10 years of vouch that the police officers you dealt with 10 years ago and the community we dealt with 10 years ago or 15 years ago is not the same. So a lot of people can't adapt to change, but we have to, right? So law enforcement, we have to set the bar right in the community. We have to show that we're transparent. We have to show that we're approachable, we're respectful. and that you can trust us. Because if we don't do that, we're never going to change anything in the community. But the community has to be receptive to that. They have to be adapt that there is change, right? The officers, years ago, I'm sure there's many horror stories or officers putting hands on people they shouldn't have put hands on, right? But those days are gone. Body cams, car cams, cell phones. You do that one time, you're gone. Your career's over. Your retirement's gone. Everything's gone. You can't live in the community anymore. So everybody has to do better. It's not. It's a two-sided thing. So I'm just going to leave with that.
Rob, I will say, I'm going to hit on something Sean said. It's and Will both. Will Cap talked about when he was in recruiting. It's bringing in officers with the right mindset. It's setting the tone in the organization. But like Sean says, when we're training young officers, there are officers on departments, all of us that have worked in. Everyone here that's on your panel tonight could tell you this officer, that officer, man, they got it. They know how to treat people. They know how to talk to people. They know how to interact with people. That's the individuals you want training those young officers. And when you get those young officers, right, that get it and are engaged and want to give back. I mean, if I had 400 more officers like Ford, I mean, policing would change overnight. And so to give him an opportunity, look, if you want to go out and do football, it was his idea to do this football camp. I wasn't sure how many kids would sign up. He's like, Chief, just trust me. So there's some money behind it. But when he gets 120 kids in like a week, I mean, that I'm going to back that. And when other officers see that and opportunities, Ford probably doesn't know. I hope this ain't recorded, Rob, because I don't want Ford to know I'm talking about it. He probably doesn't know. He probably doesn't know the impact he's having on younger officers that are watching him. And that makes a difference. So it's kind of like Sean said, you find those officers who get it and let them put what's in their heart into newer officers, because that's the future in policing. And I just think you have to set that tone early on that's what your organization is going to be about. And the officers who get that, who know how to talk to people, they really become your best detectives. They become the people that move up in the organization because people communicate with them. They become the people that they call, like, hey, can you help me with this situation? Hey, my friend was on a traffic stop. This happened. Can you help me? That makes a difference. And when a kid's in trouble and they pick up their cell phone and they call Ford directly, man, that impacts me. When he tells me something like, hey, this kid was having a problem at home with his, like Will was saying, with their mom or their dad or whatever the situation is, when they call him and he spends his time when he's off with his family talking to somebody, that impacts me, man. And that is hard to teach in academy. That is something that you have here, right? That you do this, like Jonathan, right? Jonathan was saying about why we do this job. And you got to find those people and invest in them and put them in key positions in your organization to affect change. Don't tell Ford I said that.
I agree. I don't know if I don't think he paying attention. I don't think he on Cap. But I just wanted to piggyback off something you said. And I hate to say it you said about Nix. You said about the body cams and officers doing certain stuff that's not allowed. So when body cam footage contradicts an officer report or whatever they say, what consequences should follow? What consequences does follow?
So just to elaborate, like, we're not going to remember word for word when we're typing a report. Sometimes, on an investigation or an officer's responding to 20 calls, he might not set that back into a report, for an hour and a half, depending on what the nature of the call is. So he might not remember every word for word what was said on a body cam. I think if there's
Yeah, I think we lost Nick.
What's up?
All right, until we come back, just got a question from everyone that's still on here. Dad says, yeah, we asked this on the last show. Also, what I'm saying is, hey, tell your captain I'm taking that quote, Will, can't hate up close. I like that. Who inspired you to be a police officer? I think a couple of them answered that already, but we're asked to the one, for the ones that didn't answer it. I know Brett said he's like a third generation. I know Will answered on another show, but Who inspired you to be a police officer? One of the questions from the viewers.
Oh, well, for me, I would say these
You on,
guys are
Sean?
retired. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would say these guys are retired now, but Renard Miller, Wendell White, actually one guy was my cousin, but these guys are retired from Newport News, but they were older, but I watched these guys, and we all grew up in the community, but just watching the way these guys did their job, it was just something about the way they moved and the way they operated made me want to be a part of law enforcement. So, and then being able to lean on these guys for mentorship, leadership questions, direction. So those were the guys for me that were most impactful. They really got me started in law enforcement, got into the ride along program, and kind of saw what was going on, and just something I wanted to do. Obviously, like the guy said, we're not going to get rich by doing law enforcement, but we do what we do because it's in our heart to serve the community.
Anyone else?
Can we be transparent about it?
You can say whatever you feel. Listen, this listening pleasure. We honest on here. We give it to you raw.
Okay.
He's
I would
getting ready to
say-
try to get some brownie points with the chief here. Here you go.
Nah, so I'm gonna be honest. I would say I didn't have like an inspiration. I grew up in Philly. I was 20 at the time, and the environment that I was growing up in wasn't the best situation for me anymore. So I wanted to try something new. The chief gave me an opportunity. I applied for the department. I was, going back and forth, coming down to Virginia during the whole process or whatever. And I was still unsure. About, the step that I was taking. But once I had met with the chief and sat down with him for my interview, like my whole perspective changed. Just the way that he treated me, was like he knew me for years. He welcomed me in. And I only knew him for like a few hours or for that hour. So I would say I didn't have an inspiration, but once I got here and I got, close to the people in the department, the people around me inspired me to keep doing it.
That's good.
I love that. Rob, I don't know if you saw the question that popped up, and I don't want to jump to it, but if we are finished with this question, I'd like to address that last question that popped up. I didn't see. It was from Mike D. I think he said something about.
I'm gonna go to that. I'm gonna go to that one next. I wanted to address this one I just seen.
Okay.
That was out about domestic violence. I'm gonna go to the Mike D one. I already got it queued up. So this could be quick. I don't know. So this is a question. I'm sorry, brother Ant. I missed it. I just happened to scroll back up, and I was looking and I caught it. He says, "So how you handle domestic issues because the woman isn't always the victim, but seems to get a lot of benefit."
I can start that one at least. I think I understand what he's. How do you handle domestic issues because a woman isn't always right? So, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. And I think what you're asking is, in domestic violence situation, it seems from at least your perspective that women get the benefit of the doubt, and that may be at the arrest level when they're dealing with officers and the initial investigation, and possibly even you may be alluding to the court, right? Once it's heard in court, the findings. So officers have the responsibility to do a investigation into every complaint. I believe the code is clear. It says reasonable complaint. So when the officer gets on scene, they have to make sure that, number one, what's the complaint and is it reasonable? So when we define reasonableness, we're talking about, are both parties, number one, sober? Is anybody, under the influence, or are they both sober-minded and being able to recall the events of what happened? From there, and let me throw this in there too, Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia has pretty much a directive. So officers are not allowed to use discretion when it comes to domestic violence. If there's a reasonable complaint, and if we have Probable cause to make that arrest. The code is very clear. It says you shall. It doesn't say you can. It says you shall make the arrest. So what I'm telling you is when officers come, there is no discretion. If there is evidence or probable cause, I use that word is a little bit better than evidence. If there's probable cause that an assault occurred and we can determine who the predominant aggressor was, you're gonna get arrested. We have to make that arrest and let it play out in the court. And so when we're talking about predominant aggressor, we're talking about not who hit who first. We're talking about who did who did damage, right? And so when we break it down to basic physics, if you're looking at the size of the two people involved, if you're looking at the strength component, you're looking at history, you're looking at arrest records, you're looking at calls for service to that address, you're looking at all of these in your preliminary investigation and going, okay, what happened? So I have this story and I have this story, and the officer has to make that determination based on all these factors, right? So hopefully they're doing all that. Hopefully they're looking at the CAD's report and getting all the information. Hopefully they're talking to witnesses next door or across the street, somebody who understands the history at that house, and not just using one person's testimony to make an arrest, but really digging deep. But at the end of the day, if that evidence is there and it's clear, we have to do what we have to do. There's no more, So I'm not sure that there is a better answer for that, but hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. To your point, from South Carolina's perspective, is we shall arrest. It's not there's an option. We must arrest, right? So one of the things I would say in 70% of the domestic violence calls I personally responded to in my career, 70% of the time the male's not there anymore, right? He's left. He's not in the car in the driveway. He's gone. So a lot of times it's a one-sided story. We can't control what happens when you leave. If somebody makes a mark on their face, it makes their face red, or they're in fear for their safety. But when you leave, you don't get a chance to get your side of the story, right? And see the scratch marks on your face or your neck or whatever it may be. So I would just give that out to the listeners that if you're involved in an incident, like, get your phone out. Everybody wants to record everything all the time. Record that. If you get in a heated argument and you feel like it's going towards the domestic, there's nothing wrong with putting your cell phone video on record, video in it, right? So that way a video speaks more than 1,000 words, right? So don't, get out of the, pull yourself away from that, lock yourself in a room, go to your vehicle, set in the car till the police get there to be able to give your side of the story. Because when you're gone and you won't answer the phone, we don't have a lot to go on, and we don't get your side of the story. So I just wanted to add that, just some advice for if you're involved in that, get your phone out, record, and don't leave, right? Get yourself away from the situation, but don't leave. Come talk to law enforcement.
Yeah. And then since I'm the lone North Carolina, I'll go ahead and add in on that. It's the same thing, but I've been in it long enough. I remember when we did not have the shall arrest, the officer had a lot of discretion when I first started. And, what you had was you had repeat customers, and didn't matter how bad the situation was. She wasn't going to leave him, and he wasn't going to leave her. And so when you knew you had that call history, like, well, why am I going to arrest him? She's going to go bond him out. They can bring him right back. And that routinely happened. But North Carolina changed the law somewhere around 2000, and they went to that shall arrest. And guys, if there is physical evidence that backs up either one of them's statement, you shall arrest. You shall do it. And it changed the way I policed that greatly. And man, I took, when I was doing that, hey, you better not call and think I'm just going to take the man to jail, because if he had a mark upside his head, the young lady was going to go as well. I'm not losing my career. I like my pension. On the 25th of the month, I get a check. I ain't losing it for you. Okay? And I like that. So but those things, we don't have a lot of discretion anymore in that. And it, you just had some bad situations that took place, and they caused those types of laws to come in. Sometimes I've had to arrest some folks that I knew. I'm like, man, I hate to do this, but the evidence was there, and you just have to kind of let it move forward and play out in the court where they can provide more evidence. And I agree with what Jonathan said. In today's world, man, video is the way to go. I've seen some videos online now here lately where guys were trying to get away, and the woman just would not leave them alone and do that. So that's the best evidence you can have, honestly, because you're 6'1", 220 pounds, and she's not, and she's gonna go over there and be boohooing and be red. It's going to look bad on you, man. So the video evidence I think that's excellent advice from Jonathan right there.
True. Will, go ahead with the I was looking and I can't find the question you was about to address from Mike D. If you still had it up in queue or you remember what it was.
Yeah, it said I think he made a statement, but there was a question at the end. His statement was something like he believes that when police officers recreation, once it fell off, then the kind of like the youth started going downhill. And
I got it right here. It said we need more community togetherness, more programs such as recreation like we had years ago. When it all went away, I believe was the start of our community's downfall with our youth running rampant.
So I want to definitely jump on that topic and have an open discussion. I think that he's right in one way. And I think that's that, of course, when we don't have opportunities, when we don't have recreation and things for kids to do, the opportunity for them to get in trouble increases. That's why we started off this program talking about community engagement, and I specifically started talking about the youth and things that we have to, things that we have for the youth. I think that's important. But I think the pivotal point that we may miss here is the parental responsibility. Been a police officer for 22 years and some change. I have two kids. I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. I do not leave the responsibility for my kids being raised and nurtured to police officers, recreation centers, or community programs. I'm a father first. It is my responsibility and my responsibilities and my wife's solely in our belief to raise these kids the way that they're supposed to be. I shouldn't have to lean on the SRO. I shouldn't have to lean on the Western Branch Rec Center. I shouldn't have to lean on soccer coaches or volleyball coaches. That is our primary responsibility. So I think parents need to evaluate that statement and say, are we leaning a little bit too much on our communities and our community programs and our coaches and our teachers and our SROs and our police chiefs and our police officers? They should help. But here's the bottom line. If they don't help, you should be 100% responsible for your children. Those other programs and those coaches, they should be supplements. It's nice if they do it, but if they don't, your children's success or failure shouldn't rest on somebody outside of your household.
Boy. They say the true gospel sting a little bit. That's what they say.
Hey, and I kind of want to, can I piggyback on what Will said?
Go ahead.
So my kid plays travel football and probably with some of the roughest kids from communities throughout the country, right? We travel all over the country.
True.
We play in some of the major football. I coach. But I will tell you, one of the
That's
things
how I met Officer
see,
Nix, by the way, fellas.
coaching football, right? So one of the things I want to add is the recreational side of it, right? So I consider travel football recreational, right? It's there's no rec. So a lot of people play travel now, right? Because the rec's gone. But as parents, I've been in championship games, 2 or 3 minutes in a championship game, and the tournament gets shut down for fighting, guns, coaches with guns. we played in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame. They charged the football director $20,000 in damages where parents destroyed stuff. So as parents, to your point, Will, we're responsible for our children, not a coach, not somebody else's parent. So it's hard to do nice things for kids and have recreational when you get that kind of response from the community when they destroy things, tear buildings up. I mean, pull guns. That's not kids pulling guns. These are 6 and 10 and 12-year-old kids playing as parents, right? Using drugs on the sidelines, right? I laugh. I know marijuana is legal in a lot of states, but I've been at football games where they roll it up in like corn husk. It's so big, right? And there's 30 people smoking it. So how do we tell our kids that that's okay, and then expect society, right, to embrace those type of things, right? So just want to leave it there. I'm 100% for recreation. I'm 100%, but I've drove a long ways, 6-7 hours to play football and be 2 hours into a tournament, and the whole tournament gets shut down, and we all pay $25 a person to get through a gate. So, and it's not kids. These kids ain't fighting out there as parents, right? So, just wanted to piggyback off that, Will. I take kids. I got 2 kids that travel everywhere I go with us. And their parents, let us be parents to those kids, but we're responsible for our children. And I'm a police officer. My kid's bad. I ain't gonna lie. My kid's bad. He rolls with the toughest of them, right? And he thinks he's grown at 12, and but he gets disciplined because that's what parents do, right? We don't reward bad behavior. So just wanted to piggyback on that, Will, just because I've seen it firsthand traveling across the country. I watched one of my really good friends who put that tournament on in Canton, Ohio, get charged $20,000 in damages. And I watched the police shut that place down 3 times. They didn't even have enough officers. They had to call from other jurisdictions. And that's a pretty big area where Canton, Ohio is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna chime in on that one. I agree with Captain G and Jonathan on that aspect. I feel like it's the parents first, but I also feel like social media has a big influence on how people act nowadays, not just the youth, adults as well. It seems like the more the social media enhances and they add more things to social media, it reflects on, the community as well. Some good, but most of the time is negativity, especially for the youth, with all the videos of flashing, guns and things like that. So I think it's like the other guy said, I think it's parents, but also social media.
So I want to go a step further than that. Okay,
Well,
Rob,
Sean,
I'll go a step further than that. And men need to take their rightful place. Men have been absent for too long in their children's lives. When you go to football games, basketball games, all you see are a bunch of women in the bleachers. And when a man shows up, you don't know how to act. You don't know how to act out there screaming, acting crazy. It is absolutely time for men to take their rightful place and be the leaders that we are supposed to be, that God has created us to be for our children first, period. Men would take their rightful place. It would shift the trajectory in the house, and the behaviors would change. But because men are absent, women are wearing both hats, both women and men, and it was never created for a woman to do both things. It's time for men to step up and be accountable for their families.
Ooh,
Preach, Sean.
yes.
Preach, my man. That's what I'm talking about. But
Yes,
between Will and Sean, y'all stole my thunder, because that's exactly what I was going to say, man. But he dead on, man. It's not. I don't think recreation or ball or travel ball has ruined it. I think it's the lack of fathers being involved in it that has done that. And social media is like throwing gasoline on it, But man, the lack of fathers. I think that's the number one. Lack of God and lack of fatherhood, I think are top 2 things, man. There's no fear. If you don't fear your God, then you're not, and you don't fear your father, you're not going to fear me on the side of the road. You're not going to fear your teacher or your principal. I mean, if you don't have if you can't be disciplined at home, and then when I stop you on the side of US 74 and I snatch you through a window, you don't. They don't understand. They can't understand how it got to that point because they've never been disciplined there, and they don't understand how. I'm not going to listen to that crap. You know, because I don't love you like your mom and daddy love you, man. I'm not going to listen to that. But I and I've noticed over my career. I'll give you a short story and I'll leave it alone. When I was young, I was in the 5th grade. I did something. I had a teacher that teacher and my mother did not get along. They ain't like each other. Okay. But she called my house when I didn't do something, and my mother picked up the phone, and she never hesitated, never said, "What did little Brett do?" She took that teacher's word 100% over mine, and never doubted that teacher that she did not like. Now, didn't like her, and still she listened to her and disciplined me. She didn't want to hear what I had to say. I can tell you that right now. And today, I think with like I said, with my wife being in that and my mother, I see that the exact opposite now. Instead of it being that way, it is what are you doing to my child? And that's with law enforcement, that's with teachers, that's everywhere. Because again, I think the lack of discipline in fathers in the home has led to that. It has branched out into all aspects of our community. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have.
That's right, fellas. Y'all heard that? It's time to step up. Men, fathers. Let me catch up on a couple. Alan, I guess I see your question, but I guess they kind of already answered it. Yeah, you said, do y'all believe youth organizations are helping or destroying the community? They just kind of hinted on that for a good little subject. Social media, what you say? Social media definitely mess up everything. Yeah, social media gives everybody a voice. When we was growing up, all us, when we was in school or different places, there was certain people you won't gonna hear from because they just didn't have a lot to say. It didn't have enough courage to say it around certain people. But it's easy to get behind that keyboard at home, and you the biggest, toughest, baddest, or they want the likes. So yeah, social media, as much as it helps, it hurts as much as also. It was somebody else's question I missed, but I'll leave opportunity if one of y'all guys still has something to say about the last two subjects.
No, I would agree with you on social media. I can't tell you the number of cases and investigations that, this social media post came out, but it was something that happened 2 months ago. And, when we were growing up, or when I was growing up, right, it was, if me and Will had a disagreement or whatever, it was over the next day. Now stuff lingers out there and everyone else chimes in. And if I haven't done something, done something to me, and then eventually somebody runs into somebody else. We see it at the malls or areas where there'll be you think it's this large fight, and it's really 20 individuals circle around 2 individuals just encouraging it. So I think Ford's right. I think it's a lot harder today. So that influence from parents is so important. But we didn't have to deal with that social media stuff when we were growing up. So there's a lot of benefits to it. But there's also, man, for young people, I think it is extremely, extremely challenging on whether it's TikTok or what's accepted, who said what about so-and-so, and how everybody feels about it. And, I think that cyberbullying is just as bad as in the classroom. So there's a lot of challenges that youth have today. I think that a lot of us didn't have to grow up with. And it definitely plays a role in outcomes and behaviors that we see.
Yeah, that social media is a monster, and like you said, Rob, it's an opportunity for us to, it's a platform. So if you're a good person and you have a good message and you're pushing positivity, then of course that social media platform is going to allow you just exponentially, push your voice to that many more people. But the same thing with ignorance. Ignorance gets that same opportunity. So what I'm seeing is a lack of courage a lot of times with our youth. They do have that, and there was a term, I can't remember the name of it, but it's almost like groupthink, and so you see something happen on social media or it's trendy. And because of their age, teenagers or young people, they will just follow it without thinking sometimes, and
Correct.
that leans back to our last conversation. That's why it's important to have parents who set parameters, to have those conversations with your children, to talk about what's acceptable and what's not. One of the most repeated conversations we have in this house is before my kids leave for the day. I tell them, I say, when you leave the house, whether you're going to school or wherever, practice, be a leader, because the leadership role and the way I define leadership to them is this: be above the influence. Don't let somebody else drag you into some foolishness. So leadership means that you have to be courageous sometimes, means that you have to be brave, means that you may be isolated because you refuse to follow what everybody else is doing. And so I figured I've been doing that for years. And if I can do that and instill that in my kids on a daily basis, that'll give them the courage, when a conversation or an opportunity comes up for them to engage in something that's foolish, whether it's morally wrong or illegal, they're going to remember that. And they're going to say, nah, my dad's been talking to me about this for years. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to take that leadership role and I'm going to stay away from this. Or I'm going to be the influencer, right? And so the core of my kids' hearts are good. So they're going to influence somebody to do the right thing, right? And, be the influence for the other side. And so I just, Sean hit on it, Brett hit on it, Jonathan hit on it. We just have to take that stand in the household as parents, as men, and say, this is the goalpost, and these are the parameters. This is what is allowable, and this is what's not. And it has to start with us, and it has to be reinforced, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, until it becomes habit forming for them, and they know that this is the norm. This is not something that we're just making up on the fly. It's a part of their character, and so that's the expectation in this house, that when they go out, they represent their last name. And when they represent their last name, they're doing it in such a way that when other people see them and they go, Gervin, I know your dad. Yeah. And I already know what the report's going to be, because they know how to conduct themselves when they're outside. They're not going to act a fool. So, that has to be the standard. That's what we have to do as parents, because if not, guess what? Social media will tell them what to do. Social media will influence them and give them plenty of things.
And this music.
Yeah.
The music got them brainwashed, bro. I'm just being real. We're gonna keep it real. That music, listen. If you listen to this stuff they listening to now, it's telling them take all types of drugs, pills, kill this dude. It ain't. The music crazy. I ain't even gonna get into that subject because we. All right, so I appreciate everybody. Questions. These are the last two questions for the night, and we're gonna let the officers go. We had a great show, and they've been hour and a half, like you say. They're regular people. They done worked all day. We ain't gonna hold them all night. So, this one question from a YouTube user. YouTube user created an account. Subscribe to the channel. It say, are school phones bans considered relating to school? I don't know what he put relating to social media influence issues. So he broke it up into two. He messed up. So are school bans considered, I don't know, relating to social media influence issues? Okay, that's how he got it. Anybody want to answer that?
I don't think that that's going to be a multi-level issue, because you've got to have you've got to have a school administration that is willing and is strong enough to stand up and say, okay, we're going to have this policy. But at the same time, you've got to have parents that are going to do the same thing and say, hey, and support the school board in saying that. Because the first thing they're going to say, well, yeah, but my kid needs his just in case he needs to be able to get up with me. Well, I went to school for kindergarten through 12th grade, and there was no cell phone. And anytime I needed to get up with my mom or dad, I could do it. There's a phone at the office, man. You can walk down there and use the dang phone. All right. So it's not like you couldn't reach your kid, but I don't, in today's world, I think it's a good idea. I personally think it would be beneficial, but I don't see the school boards or the homes being strong enough to make that happen. That's just a personal thing to me. I don't see it.
I just want to say a cell phone's a
I
privilege,
want to
not
say
a
something on
necessity.
that topic real quick. Okay, I agree. Here's where I come in. I get what you guys saying. I'm split. I don't know which way to go, because the cell phone comes on another hand, like here in Newport News and Heritage and different schools we had shootings, issues and such. It's chaotic. Now I'm pulling up to the scene, the school locked down on the area, barricaded, and kids are released. And they just say they're releasing it, or they ran outside. And there's people running everywhere. I want to get in touch with my child. I'm not waiting hours or whatever. My child had that cell phone. That's where, as we said earlier, parenting comes into effect. You know not to use your phone for X, Y, Z. But in that emergency situation, I probably could calm my child down. I could get to my child when nobody else can. That's just my opinion. So I get it on one side. So to me, I'm 50-50 on it. It's going to have to be really thought about if it's going to be pushed, my opinion. Not saying I'm right or wrong, it's just my opinion.
It can cause chaos to an already chaotic situation too, because if kids are talking to parents are communicating through social media, you create an unrest. I'm going to use that term, unrest, that's not necessary. So I don't know if you could hear me a while ago. I feel like a cell phone's a privilege, not a necessity. And I personally feel like
I heard you say that.
it does more good and it does more harm in a classroom setting than it does good, right? So to your point, we all went to school. We didn't, when I was in school, I graduated in 98. We didn't have school shootings, unfortunately, right? We didn't have those scares. But I do believe that the schools and the police departments are better equipped to handle these situations. They have ways of communicating. I feel like when I've done active shooter training and things like that, it's already a lot of chaos and a controlled chaos. I just feel like when you throw that cell phone, social media, mom and dad, it really makes our jobs as first responders. I'm going to use that term because it's not just law enforcement. It's EMS, it's fire departments, for traffic control. Because with social media and cell phones, there's a lot of things to get shared. And blow a lot of small things into bigger things. So that's just my take on it.
All right, so unless somebody says, I'm going to this last question and we're going to let you guys go. This comes from Chris. He say, do we have any ideas on how to restore order in the house?
Man, that's a good one. Chris, I'll say this, man. Email me. We'll talk. I got a lot. I love that. I love that conversation. But I don't want to take up the rest of the time here. I think that if I got to keep it to a minute or less, it's just we hit on it a little bit earlier, just understanding your role as a father, as a husband in the household. What are you supposed to do? That leadership role is important. You need to be the guiding light. You need to be the focal point. It's just like being a leader at work, at the police department. There's rights and there's responsibilities. A lot of people want the leadership role because they want the limelight and they want the fame and they want the title and the money in the corner office. But with that, and Chief can tell you, with every rank, with every promotion, heavy is the crown that comes with that. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. There's a responsibility, and I think that's the word that we need to really stay focused in on as men in the household. There's a responsibility. Leadership is not just dictating orders and telling everybody what to do. Leadership is let me show you the way. If there's something broken or going wrong in my household, it's my fault, because evidently I haven't been a good leader and displaying that action, showing that behavior, showing you how to handle conflict, showing you how to have conversation, how to communicate, how to treat women, how to talk to your parents. It's my fault. So as a man and as a leader of your household, you need to be the one that takes 100% responsibility for everything that goes wrong. And it needs to be a leadership role in which you reflect what that leadership is, not with your mouth, but with your actions. Your kids should be able to watch you and see what leadership is, not listen to you and hear what leadership is. They should be, if your kids were deaf, they should still be able to see what leadership is by watching you, not listening to you. I'll end with that.
That's good.
Man, listen, that was good. I don't think I want to come back and say I had something to say, but the way you close that up, that was good and powerful, man. Like, man, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not even gonna touch it. That was a good one to end it on. Anybody have any closing words they want to say before I wrap it up? Because I'm gonna say it's a wrap, and I'm gonna get the boom, 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 say my little closing, and that's gonna be it.
I'll tell you, Rod, I just appreciate being on tonight. This is a great panel. I feel a little humbled to be with individuals, all the different backgrounds and different stages in our career. But for you to provide this platform and have an open discussion, I just really appreciate the opportunity, and glad to sit here with colleagues and friends and just have a real conversation, whether we're talking about parenting or social media and police relationships. I think that's just, all of those are hot topics in today that we deal with every day. So I appreciate the invite and great show, and enjoyed being a part of it. You got great fans. So thank you, my friend.
I appreciate you, Chief. All righty. Like I said, that's a wrap for this crucial conversation tonight. And big thanks to all the officers on, Officer Ford, Chief Drew, Mr. Lynch, Mr. Brett, Will, Mr. Nix. Thank you for showing up, keeping it real, and proving that progress starts when we listen to each other. You know what I mean? It takes both sides, and what better way for them to. A lot of people don't get to hear from the other side, from you guys' side behind the badge. So that's what this is important for me too. To our listeners, you are the bridge. Keep these discussions alive in your neighborhood. Hold your leaders accountable. And most importantly, stay engaged, like in your community with your officers. And realize this: change doesn't happen in one episode. But tonight was a big step towards that change in all communities: North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. We all in here, and I appreciate you guys. And I'm gonna go ahead and end it with my regular saying, as I always say every night. For those that pay attention, please like, subscribe, share our channel, and remember to share this episode for those that need to hear it and missed it, because it was a great, powerful episode. But in my closing, may the wind always be at your back and the sun always upon your face, and may the wings of destiny carry you aloft to dance with the stars. Until next time, keep listening with pleasure, and we thank you all for tuning in. Good night.
Good night.